Hello, friends. So, uh, we some part of your note 6 is left, so I need to cover that, and that is also the most important part if you want to do some further research during your MTech, or also it would come handy in your BTech project as well. So, actually, in an induction motor, when you talk about induction motor, Uh, the drives which you have studied is like voltage control drive, frequency control drive, and rotor resistance control drive. So all these drives are not so much sophisticated drives to have a good dynamic performance. It means there are much speed fluctuations in your induction motor when you use these type of techniques. Therefore, to have a better dynamic performance um, um, of induction motor, some of advanced drive has been proposed. Uh, the basic principle of these drives the are based on the basic mechanical dynamic equation which we have learned earlier. The I will rewrite that. That is TL minus TE is equal to J d omega by dt. Here, TL is the load torque, TE is the motor torque, J is the inertia, and omega is the rotor speed. This is the rotor inertia. So we can rewrite this equation. D omega by dt will be equal to TL minus TE divided by J. So we know that this load torque depends upon the load which we are running. J is the rotor inertia. As soon as you design the rotor, the inertia of the rotor will be fixed. So we have got only one variable that you can control to control the rotor speed. So this is the variable, the motor torque. So this will be your control variable. Okay, by controlling your electromagnetic torque of the motor, you can control the speed of the drive, speed of the motor. This you have done earlier as well while studying the DC motor drive, in which you control the armature current of that DC motor. So by controlling the armature current, you know that in DC motor, your electromagnetic torque is equal to Kt, phi, and Ia. So you control this Ia and fix this flux. So this was your variable and this was your constant. Flux is your constant. This you can do easily in your DC motor, because in DC motor the flux generating winding and the uh, uh, armature current consisting winding are two separate things. So you can easily control the armature current in armature winding by controlling the armature voltage, uh, and remaining the flux to be constant. But in induction motor, this is not the case, because uh, both there is a one single winding, the stator winding, through which all the power has to come to the machine. So the magnetizing power to the motor and the load power to the motor both comes to the stator. So there is always a coupling between these two currents. So if you want to control the armature current, you will somehow distort the field of the machine through if you are controlling the armature voltage and all things. So you will reduce the capacity of the drive. You will reduce the flux of the drive. So better techniques were proposed, uh, which we will study further. So there are basic two techniques to control the torque of the induction motor. Those are, the first is vector control, and the second is direct torque control, VTC. Okay, so we will take it one by one. So let us first start the vector control. Vector control. So what is a vector control? Actually, when you control the current in your DC motor, uh, that is a DC quantity. So you have to just control the magnitude of magnitude. Um, but when you talk about AC currents and AC parameters, they are fluctuating parameters. So you have to control the magnitude as well as the phase angle. So if you draw the phasor, so a current will be having a magnitude I mod and an angle. So you need to control the magnitude as well as the angle. So it is a vector. This will become a vector. So uh, that's why it is called a vector control method, because you are controlling the this vector as per the other vector, like voltage vector. If voltage vector, let us say here it is a voltage vector, okay, and we call it as space vector uh, because uh, uh, you are imagining this as to be in space, like you imagined your rotating magnetic field uh, in space. So that is the same how these are these are imagined to be a space vector. So here this voltage vector lacks this current vector. Okay, so if we control this voltage, this current vector, uh, then we can control the power through uh, this phasor diagram. Power will be what? Power will be P will be VI cos theta, active power VI cos theta. So you will control this. You can control this I as well, and you can control this theta as well. So you have to control the I vector with respect to V to vary this power. So now let us understand the uh, space vectors in three-phase machines. Uh, how it is defined. Mm, Let us talk about three-phase induction motor. So in three-phase induction motor, there are three phases which generate its own fluxes. So let us say there is a flux phi A, lagging to this is phi B, lagging to this is phi c. These are the three fluxes that has been generated by the winding. So the resultant flux that is phi will be equal to phi A plus phi B plus phi C. Here phi is the flux resultant flux generated by all phases. So uh, we can just see that if phi A is represented by phi m sin omega t plus theta, or let us say minus theta. Phi b is phi m sin omega t minus theta minus 120 degree. Phi c is phi n sin omega t minus theta plus 120 degree. So our resultant flux, which is phi, will come out to be 3 by 2 phi m sin omega t minus theta. Okay, so all these fluxes will add up to phi. So phi is a flux that you can see is rotating at omega frequency. So we can represent this in the phasor diagram as to be this phi, and this is your theta. Okay, so now this phi is the space vector which is rotating at omega speed. Now from now onwards, we will not use this phi A, phi B, phi C. We will use just the resultant component. So let us see that how these resultant component is from different reference frame. So let us do a stationary reference frame. So in a stationary reference frame means we are standing on ground, and from ground uh, we visualize this flux. So this flux is this thing phi, and it is rotating at omega speed. So in time, this phi will change its orientation and it will rotate. So we can say this this axis has to be d axis, and the this axis has to be q axis. And we can also take components on these. So this component on d axis will be called phi d, and this component on the q axis will be called phi q. And mind you, in time, when this phi rotates, the component on phi d and phi q will also change. So in a stationary reference frame, uh, this phi d and phi q will change. Now let us sit on this flux itself. Let us talk about a reference frame which is rotating with the speed of uh, this resultant flux and coinciding this with this. So what I mean to say, I will draw a d-axis like this. So this is my d-axis, and quadrature to this will be my q-axis. So I have represented this with small. So you can remember that small is for uh, a rotating reference frame. So if we sit on this flux, then we will not be experiencing its speed. So it will be like it will be fixed. Uh, so my my phi d now uh, my phi small d will be equal to phi itself, and my phi q will always be 0, because this reference frame is always uh, aligning with this q, because they are at the same speed, so they will be aligned with this. So always phi d, uh, uh, this small d axis, on this small d axis, this phi will be constant on in, and in this small q axis it will always be 0. There will be no flux in this direction. However, in stationary reference frame, in d axis qd, and on q axis q capital Q will always vary. Uh, this d axis may also be understood as a magnet axis. So this may be represented by a magnet. This will be north and this will be south. So we have transferred from ABC to DQ axis theory. So mathematically we can determine the d-axis and q-axis of fluxes by the use of Parkes transformation. This is a usual method of transferring from ABC to DQ and DQ to ABC. So we can transform from ABC to DQ quantities by using Parkes transform. This Parkes transform will keep on coming in your future syllabuses. So we will not go in detail into this, but you can always refer books to understand what is the mathematical relation between uh, your A phase, B phase, C phase quantities and your DQ quantity. Now let us move forward and let us bring this theory to understand the function of a three-phase induction motor. So while we did our introduction part in three-phase induction motor drive, I used one schematic in which I have used stator pole and rotor pole. Okay, so uh, this will be the axis uh, of the rotor pole, and this will be the axis of stator pole. we can take this separately as to be this is phi r and this is phi s, and the angle between this is delta. Delta is the load angle. So the strength of these magnets will determine how much torque, by which torque this rotor is pulled towards this stator. So if del is 90 degree maximum, the torque will be maximum. So and if this del is 0, when rotor is aligned to this stator, there will be no torque. So so this here it is the torque which is experienced by this rotor uh, due to polarity attraction towards the stator. So we can write TE as to be pi r, that will be proportional to torque will be proportional to the strength of this rotor magnet and the strength of the stator magnet, um, and also the sine angle between this sine of the angle between phi r and phi s. Mind you, these quantities are space vector. So when I'm talking about phi r, this is the resultant flux generated by the rotor winding. And when I'm talking about phi s, then this is the resultant flux by all the three phases in the stator winding. Now, let us just talk about a reference frame that's coinciding with this rotor. So let us see that how the things going to change. This is a stationary reference frame. So let us talk about a rotating reference frame. So so let us draw the stationary reference frame. So this is my d axis and this is my q axis, and here it is my phi r, the rotor flux, and this is my phi s. Now, if I take the reference frame that is coinciding with the rotor with the rotor with the rotor flux, so we can draw our d-axis as to be here like this: small d-axis and small q-axis. This is rotating axis. These axis is rotating with the speed of synchronous speed. Okay, so now this we can take component of this phi s onto this q. So this will be the component. So this component will come out. Uh, Mind you, this is the angle delta, which is between phi r and phi s. So this component will come out to be phi s sine delta. So this is phi s sine delta. Let us also call this as to be phi s q, the component of stator flux on this rotating quadrature axis. And this phi r could be said as phi r d. See, the reference frame is fixed to the rotor, so our d-axis flux will be phi r itself. So we can rewrite our torque equation as to be torque will be equal to, let us take a constant c, and this will be equal to your phi r d, and what is the meaning? The meaning is phi s sine delta. So phi s sine delta is equal to phi s q. So this is equivalent to your DC torque equation. In DC machine, the torque is written as to be Kt phi into Ia. So uh, here this phi SQ may be represented by this uh, um, by the stator current component. Uh, so we can draw here the IS current. We can draw here IS current. Let us draw with a different ink. Let us see. So this is your IS, which is generating this phi S and phi R both. So we can take this IS component on this Q and call it as ISQ, and we can take the component on this D axis and call it as ISD. So we can always replace this flux with the current, because current fluxes will be directly proportional to current, as we know it to be. So we can always write this torque equation as to be Te is equal to, let us take a different constant K, and phi RD, you can take phi RD itself, and phi SQ may be represented by this IQ current, ISQ current. Okay, so now these two equations must be looking similar. Here phi RD is equivalent to phi in the DC machine, and ISQ is equivalent to IA. So what this ISQ is? ISQ is the rotating Q axis component of the stator current space vector. And mind you, stator current space vector is made of all the three phases IA, IB, and IC. What we just need to do, we just need to transfer the ABC to DQ transformation by Parkes transformation, by Parkes mathematical equation. So if we can control this ISQ separately, which we will be able to do it by using our inverter technique, we will control this ISQ and maintain this phi RD to be constant. Now we can draw the control logic diagram of this mm, torque control method. So let us start. So what we need to do, we need an inverter. VSI. This is a voltage source normal inverter. This will feed the induction motor to be speed control. This is our three-phase induction motor. So what we are going to do, we are going to sense this current, all these current. So let us sense this. So these are IA, IB, IC quantity, IA, IB, IC quantity, and we will use Parkes transformation to convert ABC to DQ. So this will give ID, and this will give you IQ. Now these ID current and IQ current will be regulated at a reference current. So from where this reference current will come? So reference current will come from the speed controller. as it was in the DC machine control logic. So we will sense the speed of this induction motor. We'll sense the speed, and this speed will be compared with a reference speed. Like we want to run this motor at some speed. So this will be your reference speed, and this is the rotor speed, actual rotor speed, which is measured from induction motor. And when this is conditioned through a PI, so it will give your IQ reference current. From here we will get the IQ reference current. When this IQ reference current is compared with your uh, measured reference current, so and after conditioning this PI, we will get your IQ current. Sorry, we will get your VQ. VQ is uh, the voltage needed on quadrature axis to build this IQ current. Okay, and similarly, this reference D axis current will come, which will be maintained constant, and this will be compared with your measured ID current, and after passing through a PI, this will give you VD. And we will again do a ABC to DQ transformation. Sorry, DQ to ABC transformation, because it is other side. So after DQ to ABC transformation, we will get our VA, VB, and VC. We will get our VA, VB, and VC. So this will be the reference voltage. You call it as modulating voltage when you talk in inverter. So these modulating signals will be used to generate the PWM for this VSI. So they will generate PWM signal to this VSI. Okay. So the PWM signal will be generated such that the inverter inject a current. Uh, uh, the inverter produces a voltage such that the ID and IQ current are maintained at ID reference and IQ reference value. So we can just revise this. So what you did, you first of all sense the three-phase current IA, IB, IC, did a fast transformation AB to DQ transformation to get a ID current and IQ current. Now this ID current and IQ current need to be controlled to control the torque of the machine, because this torque of the motor is directly proportional to ISQ, the quadrature component of the stator current. So this quadrature axis stator current will be controlled at IQ reference value. This IQ reference you will get from the speed controller. So as in DC motor, you get the armature reference current from speed controller. This is exactly representing how much torque you need to just accelerate this rotor. This is representing the torque needed to just accelerate this rotor to this reference value. So the error will give you the exact torque, the torque signal, this IQ signal. IQ signal is the torque signal. So this torque reference signal, this IQ current, stator IQ current will be controlled at this torque reference signal and to generate your VQ. And this ID reference signal will be constant because pi RD is constant. So ID reference signal will be a preset value, and your ID current, stator ID current will be controlled at this value. So this will generate your VD, direct access voltage. So after doing DQ to ABC transformation, you will get VA, VB, and VC. The three phase reference voltages which you will use to generate the PWM signal for the inverter. Okay, so this is the vector control method. So you can see there are many PI controllers. There are three PI controllers: one is speed controller, two current controllers, then this PWM signal generator is also there. So and there is also an ABC to DQ transformation, two ABC to DQ transformation. Um, so it is a bit means uh, big exercise. I think this is somehow a big exercise to do. This is called vector control. We control the voltage vector such that the current is controlled. Uh, now, uh, how is a direct torque control? What is the difference between a direct torque control? Now, let us see what is direct torque control. So, direct torque control. So, in direct torque control, we simplify this control logic to a very to a minimum level. What we do, mm, so we directly take a torque reference, which is generated from the speed reference, speed controller. You have already done it many times. So there is a speed controller. So speed controller will give you the torque reference signal, and this will be directly compared with the torque generated by the motor. And this will be controlled through a hysteresis controller. You might have studied it, you might have not. This hysteresis controller, but it is quite different from your PI controllers. The frequency of the switches is not fixed; they vary, and there is a band of in which the torque is controlled. Means there is a band around the reference signal in which the torque is to be controlled. So this is how it is generated. So this goes to a switch selector logic. There is a switch selector logic, means which switch need to be switched on. Okay, so and there is also the reference stator flux linkage, which is controlled, uh, and this is also hysteresis controller, and this goes to switch selector logic. So as per the error in the stator flux and electromagnetic torque, these switches in the inverters are made on or off. there are six switches in the VSI. So I have made six signals. So this is VSI, and from VSI it goes to your induction motor. And from induction motor, it is natural mm, to measure the flux, stator flux, and torque. And assume that the speed is being measured. So this gave your stator flux linkage. This gives you the torque. So torque signal goes to torque, and stator flux signal goes to stator. Okay, so we can see the control logic has been quite simplified, and this is the most recent technique of controlling induction motor, the direct torque control, in which directly the torque of the induction motor is measured and controlled at a reference torque value through a hysteresis controller. So, and when you start comparing these two techniques, direct torque control and vector control, you can just make a table of that. Mm. So if you write just direct torque control and vector control, so your different parameters you can study, uh, like the dynamic response. The dynamic response for both direct torque control and vector control is excellent. They are, the dynamic response is very good in comparison to all those voltage control methods, frequency control method, and resistance control method. If we see the torque ripples, so we are controlling torque, so it is very necessary to see that how much this torque is varying. So this is high in direct torque control method and low in vector control. Uh, in vector control, it is low because we directly control the current itself, and we are not letting it to shoot up by designing our controller very good. Um, and the current mm, so the current uh, uh, is current in direct torque control, it is not maintained within machine rating, means momentarily the current shoots up. So current shoots up momentarily, means there is no direct current control, so current may increase to a higher level momentarily, but in vector control, current is controlled, and it is always less than the machine rating. So current is less, within range. We can say within range, within rated value. So now the current distortion harmonics. If we need to see that in which control method the harmonics is less, so it is less in vector control because we directly are controlling the current itself. So it is low in or not low. If not low, it is medium in vector control, and high in direct torque control. Because for the same reason, we are not controlling the current. We are directly controlling the torque. so current may shoot up. Uh, then the parameter sensitivity means how sensitive it is to the parameter variation like inductance and resistance and all. Uh, so do the drive need the exact value of the resistance and inductance to work or not? So it is the parameter. So direct torque control is very less sensitive to parameter uh, 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 because it is insensitive to parameter variation. And uh, in vector control, it is little high. Parameter sensitivity is little high. If you do not give the right current and the resistance and inductance value, then the vector control might suffer. The drive performance might suffer. Then the switching frequency. So switching frequency of the inverter switches is low in DTC and medium in vector control. Sorry, I'm getting it wrong. So the it is not fixed. The switching frequency is not fixed in DTC. It is not fixed because we are using hysteresis controller, mind you, not fixed. So harmonics band could be different. So the band will not be a fixed one. Uh, the harmonic order are always fixed for a fixed switching frequency. But if the switching frequency is not fixed, then the harmonic order we will not be able to get that what harmonics are being present in the drive, and therefore we will not be able to design a filter to just filter out those harmonics. So it is not possible in DTC, but the switching frequency is fixed in vector control because we are using fixed PWM signal. Uh, the PWM technique is uses carrier signal which is generated at a fixed frequency. So PWM signal that is generated is at fixed frequency, and when the switching frequency is fixed, then we know prior that what order harmonics will be generated, and we can design our filters to uh, just filter out those harmonics. So this is what you can this is what you can study for now about vector control and direct torque control. Actually, this is a very advanced technique, and if you want to go in depth into this, then you can just see the papers which I am attaching in your Google Classroom. So that paper compares and gives you some extra information. Otherwise, you can refer books as well. So if anybody needs that, you can always contact me. Um, so I will give you the book, and you can study in greater length. And this is actually this is what happening in today's industry. They run the drives on vector control and direct torque control. Direct torque control is the most recent one. Thank you. If you have any question, you might be having many, so just ask them, and we will see how you can understand this. Okay, thank you.